Hi Haley, how you doing?
Hello, Alix. I'm doing fab. How are you?
I'm good. It's a very interesting day to record our first video of the series because we're talking at the same time as Trump is also talking in his inauguration day. So that's an interesting
Oh,
timing.
had no idea that was going on. No, it's
No
just a
idea.
casual day.
Very casual indeed. I think honestly, most people know you already because you've been incredible on the social front.
Oh, it's only
But
because I engage with people like you. That's literally the only reason people know me.
look at us hyping each other up. But tell me, who are you? Who are you to the
Uh,
people?
to the people, I'm LL Cool Hey on Twitter. No, but I lead ecosystem marketing here at Aptos Labs. I've been in the ecosystem for just over a year. I celebrated my 1 year anniversary at Aptos Labs a couple weeks ago. I feel like I've grown so much since joining the Aptos ecosystem. I feel like I've been in the space for 4 or 5 years or so, and I've worked at Ripple, I've worked at Unstoppable Domains, and with every role I've taken, I feel like I'm feeling myself get more and more ingrained in crypto, and still obviously have a lot to learn. But since joining the Aptos ecosystem, have learned a ton. Mostly thanks to people like you and all the people I'm blessed to work with every day. But yeah, a little bit about my role at the team is ecosystem marketing. Kind of encompasses a lot of things. I work hand in hand with a lot of projects that join the ecosystem, help them to co-market any of their milestones, any product launches, and that is everything from supporting them on social retweet requests to working with them on bigger campaigns to blog posts, working with them through some of our paid media partners. So really just kind of a jack of all trades, if you will.
And
But
it is amazing because I only hear the best about you from the ecosystem. So we're glad to have you.
thank you, and I hope that's true. But also, like, yeah, people, don't think it's highly of me. I want that feedback. So you guys let me know. But also tell me about, for people that maybe don't know you, I don't think there are many people out there who don't know you. Tell them about your role. I know you recently, we announced some changes to the ecosystem team recently. So maybe tell us about your role and what that looks like.
Yeah, so I am at Aptos Labs. I've been at Aptos for over a year and a half now. There was an announcement recently that I will be moving to Aptos Foundation alongside everyone in the ecosystem team, which includes people like Ash, Hedy, or Zach. So that's coming up. I think it's important for all of us in the ecosystem team to be unified under the Aptos Foundation. So that's exciting. That should be some changes happening. But as of today, I'm ecosystem manager. Ecosystem manager depends how you look at it. I started off as bringing the supports to the team and sourcing new teams, like most of us do within a certain vertical in the ecosystem. Mostly looking at consumer-facing applications, but then I transitioned a little bit into leading more of the programs that are meant to help the teams who are emerging or existing for a long time at Aptos, helping them get more of the spotlight, whether it's at conferences or just creating programs like the one we had the last 2 weeks at the Aptos Labs office in New York. So we can get a little bit more into that, but yeah, that's my journey, and I'm super fortunate to be working with people like you.
Yes. Yeah. And you're definitely not busy at all. I think you also didn't mention that you have done a lot of amazing things for the ecosystem in your time here. You spearheaded our first ever ecosystem summit. You played a large role in bringing our Aptos experience to life. I know you're going to talk more about like what ecosystem summit looks like for year two, but yeah, you definitely keep yourself busy.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for highlighting this project that take a very long time to put together. But you started with us actually at the very first ecosystem summit last year.
What a time to join. Yes, really was just thrown into it. But I felt that that was a really good welcome experience for my role, just because, yeah, I started at Aptos Labs, I think a week or two later, joined you, met you at our first ever ecosystem summit. So I got to meet, I think, over 30 projects firsthand and hearing about, why they joined Aptos, how they first heard of the ecosystem. So I feel like that was just like the best onboarding experience I could have asked for.
I think so too. And I think as of today, you're definitely one of the people who have the most context around Aptos Labs, Aptos ecosystem, and the different statistics around the network, thanks to your role and how involved you've been. So that's something that we can dive into.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like I've somehow become the stats queen within the ecosystem. But yeah, let me talk a little bit about like where we ended last year and where we're at this year. I think a lot of stats that I've been paying attention to have been around all-time transactions, total value locked on Aptos, as well as overall ecosystem growth. And so just a quick snapshot of where we ended last year. So last year, I think closing 2024, we had announced that the ecosystem had grown from 250 projects at the end of 2023 to now more than 330 projects, and definitely still growing. We're also seeing a lot of traction as it relates to daily active users, right? So at the end of last year, I want to say that we were sitting just above 10 million monthly actives, according to Aptos Explorer. I just looked this morning, we're sitting above 11.1. And I think last year too, we hit a record of 1.2 daily active users, which was just number 4 across all blockchains. So just a quick snapshot of things that we're seeing. Obviously, like, I welcome feedback from the ecosystem if there are stats that you care about or other metrics that we should be paying attention to. I think these are just a couple of the stats that are kind of top of mind for me. But if you guys want to hear more as it relates to like transactions on the network, more DEX activity, if TVL is something we shouldn't be paying attention to or talking about, I definitely welcome all feedback. But I think just already looking into like where we're at into January, we're already seeing huge amount of growth as it relates to all-time transactions and monthly actives. So I think those are 2 metrics that I personally am excited about.
Yeah, and you talked about the number of new teams, but we also have the numbers from the Electric Capital report that was published at the end of 2024, which reported that we had over 1,000 new developers join Aptos in 2024. We also celebrated our 2nd anniversary on mainnet in October. And that's basically a growth of 96% from Q3 2023 to Q4 of 2024. So pretty much year to date. And that represented Aptos as being the 2nd largest developer ecosystem. So I think it's very, very positive as far as a number of people looking at Move as a whole, but also Aptos Move, obviously. And I'm very excited to see what these developers are going to be shipping in the next year.
Me too. And I think like we at Labs and folks within the ecosystem have heard that from Avery too, right? I think like that's one thing that we're kind of betting on this year is we really want this to be the year of like shipping fast and just getting products out into the wild. And so I think by seeing, you know, the number of new devs that have joined the ecosystem in the past year, I think that that is a good signal that we aren't showing signs of slowing down. And like you said, I think right now we're currently the 2nd largest developer ecosystem according to Electric Capital, but we're also the biggest Move developer ecosystem, which is a huge validation for what we're doing here.
Yep, definitely. And like you said, I would be very curious for anyone listening to know which statistics you care the most about, and if you'd rather see a breakdown or where those statistics are coming from. I think in 2024, the most active dApps and the most users were coming from 4 different applications, which are Canal Apps, Chingari, KJEN, and Stan. Mm-hmm. That's where the most users were coming from. So that's also interesting to see.
Very, very exciting. Yes. And honestly, like I want to learn more about these projects too. I feel like I work really closely with the Kana Labs team, but I know like there are other gaming projects out there, Stan, Aragon, a couple others that you named are like continue to kill it and prove themselves. So definitely pay attention to those projects. I think with that, that's a good segue into like what's been happening in the ecosystem. You know, I know we're only a month into January, but I feel like there's been several launches that have taken place over the last couple of weeks and a lot more coming up in Q1 and Q2 that we're very excited about. So maybe I'll kick it to you to kind of talk through what you've been seeing first month of January and where we ended the year.
Yeah, definitely. Well, something very exciting that happened here, which was a good way for me to kickstart the year, was definitely having the Enka cohort present in New York City. They spread time between the OKX office in New York and the Aptos office. And essentially, they had 2 weeks of programming with different external partners and internal partners doing sessions on, you know, whatever the ecosystem was requesting, really. These 4 teams are Plays Out, Hyperfluid, Lucky, and Mirio. My bad, I had a little blank. I was like, wait, which one did I not name? And so they essentially started in the accelerator in September. So that's been going on for a couple of months. And they reached a stage where they're raising or closing their round, actually, for the most part. Most of them already started. And we got to close out the weeks, this 2 weeks, with a pitch to investors here at the Aptos office. So that was an exciting way for me to start the year. And I do see the value of having people in person with, you know, us at Aptos, but also with each other within the ecosystem. Last year, the summit, I think, was a great example of that. I think it does allow for people to not only exchange idea, but just see who else is there and are you like-minded, and just really create relationships. And so talking about events that we're going to have happening in 3 weeks, we are hosting something that's not going to be called the Ecosystem Summit, because we're not bringing, all of our ecosystem. There will be a lot of people, but instead we're going to be focusing this time around on brand new team, emerging team. A lot of them came from the Code Collision Hackathon, so some of these winners, as well as the grant program. So that's something that's exciting to me, because it's going to be showcasing brand new teams. We're going to have about 10 or 12 of them, all working on very different applications. There's a little bit of a mix between DeFi and things that are a little bit more consumer facing and social, which I think is really exciting. And so that's something that we're going to be showcasing really soon. That's exciting to me in 2025.
And y'all, in case you don't know, I feel like this is already shining through, but Alix is the queen of that's something she's very passionate about, is one, consumer applications on Aptos, but also really fostering projects from the ground up. And so I think Alix was saying, last year's ecosystem summit was first time that we had really brought a lot of projects within Aptos together for the first time to meet and collaborate in person. But I think this year, our intention with Aptos Summit 2.0, Ecosystem Summit 2.0 is to really focus on these projects that are newer and are just getting started on Aptos, so we can be there supporting them on every step of the journey. And I feel like that's something that is definitely shining through, and something that you're very passionate about. So folks that are coming to that Ecosystem Summit in a couple of weeks, I think you should definitely be excited. You're in good hands.
Yeah. I mean, I'm excited. I hope they are. But something that you pointed out is I think there's been some criticism, to be completely transparent, around the way Aptos is supporting or not supporting its ecosystem enough. We've been doing a lot of work. Obviously, it's always a little bit hard to be on every single front, but we do try to bring support to as many people as possible to the best of our extent. But I do believe we could have done a better job at some of these areas. And so while we did some of those events in 2024, I think 2025 for me is really important to understand what type of support people need, because people need different support based on what type of application they're building, but also based on who is in their team, right? We have some teams, most of them actually, who are very technical and they're getting a great support from our engineering team, but then they need a little bit more support when it comes to the BD side and the marketing side and potentially listing, fundraising and all these things. And then you have teams who are a little bit more on the Web 2.5 sector and very BD oriented and great at partnership, but then they require more support on the technical side. And I think it's very proper to each. And that's something that I'm really trying to understand and to know about people on a very one-on-one level, and trying to bring that support is, like you said, very important to me. I think it's a great way to bootstrap the ecosystem and really, really help each team get to where they have to be, basically, to the next level.
Definitely. And I think that's what our intention with this video series is too, right? You touched on being transparent as possible. I think I'll admit that myself, right? I only support teams from the marketing point of view, but I'm always open to feedback, right? And I only know what I know, right? And I don't what I don't. So I think I very much appreciate when teams come to me and say hey, you missed the mark here, or hey, you could be supporting us in other ways. Can we collaborate on bigger campaigns together now that we've done some co-marketing? I'm definitely all ears on feedback, and I think we're starting to make changes across the board within our organization to try to be better partners to those that are building on Aptos. You're starting to see that with the transition that you mentioned recently, moving the ecosystem team over to the foundation. I think steps like that are only going to make us a lot more collaborative and hopefully kind of open up that feedback loop for projects to feel more comfortable sharing with us in real time, where exactly it is that they need help, right? Because we can only operate under so many assumptions, thinking that there is a one size fits all that's going to get projects to the next level, but that's not always going to be the case. So definitely let's lean into transparency. Let's lean into how can we make that YAPT ecosystem better and stronger than ever, and continue to get better, because there's always learning that can be done.
Yeah, and you mentioned some great statistics at the beginning of the video, which are things that are true, right? They're on-chain activity that's being observed, growth that's being observed. But I think it's sometimes hard for the community and some of the ecosystem to see and understand where that's coming from. So that's also one of the reasons we're doing this video, right? We kind of want people to see where that's coming from and where we want to see growth happen also on the network. Obviously, as you mentioned, there was a lot of changes recently in the organization, and we're taking this new leadership and this new year really to make the changes needed and to listen to the ecosystem and what they need more. So please feel free to be completely honest with us and share your feedback. What I would love to see happen also, and you tell me, Haley, because you're much more on the marketing side than I am, is for founders and people who are building great applications to be more out there, because we can amplify your voice. And I think that's something that we try to do a lot. But, your best advocate at the end of the day is going to be yourself and your team, and showcasing what you believe in and why you created the app that you built. And I think that's something that's really important for everyone to be taken to the next level.
100%. I think, and with that too, I think like one thing that I'm hearing become increasingly more clear is like, what is your like technical founding story, right? I think like a lot of, not specific to any one project, but a lot of feedback that I hear within the ecosystem is I think that people that are building on Aptos get it, but if you're kind of trying to move over, it's maybe a harder barrier for you to understand like why, understanding how to use Move, why Move is such a strong programming language. And so I think like being able to really nail down and get ingrained with folks like our Aptos Labs engineering team, or maybe others that have been building on Aptos for a while, like making sure that you're collaborating with them, building those partnerships early so you can bounce ideas off of each other and really get crisp on like, what is the technical story you want to tell and why can't you do it on any other blockchain? I think that's one thing that's becoming more clear. And then we will kind of touch on this, but right, just making sure that you're kind of finding your buddies within the ecosystem that can really help you get your project to the next level, because I've seen collaboration in this ecosystem like you won't find elsewhere, right? And I maybe I'm a little biased because I started just before Ecosystem Summit last year, but being able to see all these projects come together and ideate on where they want to take their projects, how they can integrate with one another was really, really eye-opening to see. And I don't think I've seen that slow down since I've joined. So all that to say, like, it really is important to like identify what your story is from the get and be able to tell it succinctly. Because if you can do that, then it's very easy to tell that story to others within the ecosystem and then kind of build on like how has Moved and Aptos Technologies really brought this idea to life.
Yeah, definitely. And also you need to explain to people why what you're building is the best and why you're the best to build it. I think that's a very important component as well. Even for me, like personally, whenever I've been looking into a protocol, whether it's on Aptos or not, usually what intrigued me was the founders speaking and explaining their story, where they come from and why they're building what they're building. And then that got me into, actually, let me look at their protocol because that's a very interesting story.
Right.
So.
Right.
Yep.
The founders are what gets you in, the protocol, the project, the technology is what gets you to stay 100%.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, entirely. Do we want to talk a little bit about more recent things and updates that happened within the ecosystem?
Yes. I mean, I have like a short list of things that I've been like watching. I mean, it's only January 20th now, and I can name probably like 10 milestones or announcements that have happened in the last like 3 weeks of January. I don't know. How do we want to kick this off? Who are the projects that are most exciting to you or that you've been like amazed by, coming into January?
So I'm pretty excited about multiple protocols going into TGE and launching their tokens. I think the most recent one being Vibrant X, for example. But in the token realm, we also saw Emoji Coin launch their platform, and recently they switched where the market cap on the platform is now denominated in US dollars. Which I think is a helpful component when you are on a trading platform. And then, KGEN also introduced their reward token. And all these things to me are very, very interesting. But I think what you can maybe touch on a little bit is the most recent Joule Finance launch, which is called MetaMove. Do you want to touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, honestly, yeah, Joule Finance is one of the projects that I'm probably most excited about just because I feel like they have not slowed down since I've started working with them. Joule Finance plays in the DeFi space, but recently announced that they're going to be doing a lot of work to bring AI agents into the Aptos ecosystem. They launched MetaMove, as you talked about, which is going to be a platform that's really focused on developing and fostering the builder ecosystem within Move. So it's going to start by launching a series of different products. The first one is going to be a Move AI agent SDK, but I'm sure the team has a lot already coming in on the roadmap, and I think they're already talking to a lot of other projects within the ecosystem to collaborate and really get MetaMove to the next level. I know Joule Finance also joined Spooks Lab last week for a space where they talked about kind of their vision and roadmap for bringing AI agents to Aptos. So if you guys didn't get a chance to listen to that, definitely welcome you to listen to that recording. But I think Joule Finance is one project where I'm consistently blown away by what they're putting out into the world. And one of the folks on their team, I think his handle is Exo. If you guys aren't following him on Twitter, like definitely follow him because he's the guy with all the alpha. I'm telling you right now, like if you're not following Jewel Finance already, at the very least, you got to follow Exo on Twitter because he's just one of the biggest voices within Aptos that I definitely learn a lot from. So shout out Exo.
Yeah, consistency is key for sure.
Yeah.
In the tokens realm, I know that Chewy token is also coming to Maxi, so that's also exciting.
Very exciting.
I think one of the most exciting news from the beginning of the year is Aave V3 that's deployed on Aptos testnet. We had a space on Friday last week where Stani and Avery had a conversation about this. So highly recommend going back into that space and listening if you want to know more.
100%. That one's been a long time coming too, right? I think we announced that we were planning to integrate with Aave like end of last summer, early fall. And so finally seeing Aave being deployed on Aptos testnet, huge move. I think we'll start to see a lot more chatter around Aave in the coming weeks. So definitely an exciting one.
Yeah, and Stani was also at DeFi Days last April where he was speaking, and he also came to the Aptos experience and also was chatting there. So he's always such a interesting and impressive figure to listen to. So that's always a great guest to have for sure.
I agree. What else has been happening in the last couple of weeks? Kana Labs, another project.
Yeah, I was going to talk about Kana. We talked about Kana a little bit as one of the leading apps on Aptos. They recently shared some of their milestones, which include, I think, $6 billion in cumulative volume, which is about 4.5 million transactions. So that's very impressive. I think they also are about to launch their second testnet for the Perps platform. Yeah. The first one they got a lot of feedback from, and so they're implementing this feedback. Love when teams do that. Take the feedback and implement it. That's always great.
Yeah, Kana Labs too, like for just going back to talking about how you can market yourselves, I think Kana Labs is a good project to follow if you're new to the ecosystem, just because they are incredible when it comes to showcasing their milestones and keeping their users along for the journey. I can't tell you how many new product features or updates that I've worked with them on the past year, or even highlighting things around milestones around like number of sponsored gas transactions to number of new users to volume on the platform. Like they are just amazing when it comes to marketing themselves and their milestones. So definitely watch them if you guys aren't following them on socials already. I think they do a really good job of telling their story and keeping users engaged along kind of how the way their product suite has evolved.
They're also great at showing up. I think I've seen them at pretty much every event the last year across the globe. Whether it was Token 2049, they were the Aptos experience also. I think pretty much every event I've been to, I've seen Kana was there, which is
can't get rid of them.
That's great. Please don't.
Yeah, please don't go away.
Please don't go away. But yeah, as far as some of the more recent team on Aptos, the people who launched a bit earlier, I think someone that's been pretty impressive has been Tedis Market. They launched on mainnet at the end of November 2024. So about 2 months ago now. And they showcased some great milestones too recently, which is, for example, I think they made over 350 million total volume and accumulated about a little bit over 7,000 users, which,
Incredible.
For a platform that's 2 months old, it's pretty good signal as well.
Totally.
Have you been following what Amaterasu has been doing as well in the ecosystem?
I've been hearing a lot more about them in the space in the last couple of weeks. I will transparently say I need to be paying a lot more attention to our NFT and meme coin projects on Aptos. I think that's one piece of feedback that I've gotten from the ecosystem, like as it relates to like any metrics that I've been tweeting about or projects that I've been paying attention to. That feedback has been overwhelmingly clear. So I will transparently admit and say I need to do a lot more due diligence and research and paying attention to these projects. But tell me about what Amaterasu has been up to.
Well, the good thing is that there's so much to keep up with, honestly, and that's why you can have eyes everywhere. But that's a good thing. That's a good problem to have, right? But Amaterasu, you've probably seen a lot of people with their PFP recently. They launched a collection and then they introduced a gamified experience to reveal the collection, and you could basically rewind as many times as you wanted. They used on-chain randomness to do that until you got a PFP that you like and want to keep. That was very interesting. I saw a lot of people across the office, literally on everyone's screen doing it. I think it was a very successful launch, very exciting, and I think the art is top notch as well. So that was an exciting recent NFT launch that happened.
And I will, you mentioned this too, but I think like the fact that they used, you know, Aptos technology, on-chain randomness to bring their project to life is something that's really cool. And I think they're also spearheading the idea of C NFTs, if I have that right, which is something that I think that only a handful of projects within Aptos are doing. So yeah, definitely excited to learn more about them and kind of watch their journey, because I feel like I've only been hearing more and more about them in the last like 3 months. I feel like every month it's like more and more chatter around them.
Yeah, composable NFTs are going to be interesting to follow. I'm interested to see how NFTs unveil in this cycle as a whole, across chains, actually, to be honest.
Yes, I feel like people are paying more and more attention, right? That's what I feel like right now is a time that feels very exciting for the NFT space as a whole, and even more so for NFTs on Aptos. I'm excited to see what's next.
Yep, can't agree more. I think Amateur is going to be coming at the Eco Summit, which we're not going to call that way again, but they're one of the most recent team that is going to show up. So that's going to be exciting.
Exciting. Maybe I get to meet them in person. Let's see, what else is happening on the network? I think Aptos just recently announced that they've integrated Chainlink data feeds, which is exciting if you're a builder on Aptos. Just a number of announcements that have been happening. And this is, again, all within the last like 3 weeks on Aptos. I'm trying to think if there's any projects that we haven't talked about.
There's probably some, but we'll be able to talk about them in the next iteration. Again, that's the first video that we're doing of this series, and there's a lot that we can cover, but we'd love to hear everyone's feedback on what they want to hear about the most. Do you want us to focus on more specific projects week after week or bi-weekly? I'm not even sure how often we're going to be doing this. Or do you want to hear more about the broader network and what's upcoming? There's a lot of different things that we could be doing. I think the future of 2025 is going to be shaping up much more clearly in the coming days as well. We'll be able also to chat a little bit about that.
Yep, 100%. I think we're also like, we're open to, if there are folks that like maybe like I transparently shared, like I could do a lot more research and due diligence as it relates to like NFTs or meme coins on Aptos. So if there are any folks that play within those spaces that, you know, want to have a conversation with Alix and I would love to maybe bring you on to our video series as it evolves, learn more a little bit about you, why you chose Aptos, maybe tell your founding story. So we're really open to all formats, feedback, whatever you guys want to hear from. We are all ears. I think a lot of you guys have worked with Alix and myself in some capacity since we've been on the labs team, and definitely want to keep getting more ingrained with your project. So this is really for you, what you guys want to hear from, like what we should be talking about. So we are all ears.
Yeah, and also if there's specific topics that you guys want to hear about, we can bring on special guests. Like Brian could be a great person to come and talk more about AI agents. Yes. I know that's something that he's very excited about. I think he's going to be in Hong Kong, by the way, where I'll be in Hong Kong for Consensus. Part of the team will be there, so that's an interesting place to meet as well. If you're going to be there, please let me know.
And why is that? Is that maybe because Aptos Foundation is sponsoring Consensus Hong Kong?
Maybe. Did you hear about that?
I did hear that. We did announce that last Friday. So if you are headed to Consensus, definitely let us know. We'd love to see as many faces as we can as possible. I'm not going, but like Alix said, she'll be there. Brian Wong will be there. If you haven't met with him or follow him on social, he is super plugged into AI agents, and so can speak a little bit about some of the projects that he's following on Aptos. I think that's another topic that I want to learn more about. So maybe in the future, we even try to bring Brian Wong on to talk about AI agents on Aptos, or maybe the Jewel team could come on to talk about AI agents. But I think those are some themes that I'm really excited for, at least to the immediate start of the year.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see, whoever wants to come up, let us know. I think it'd be great to have guests, so it's not just us two yapping. Although we could do that. The yappers.
The yappers. Yeah,
I think it's pretty good for the first of the series. Unless there's anything else that you want to add to this, Haley.
No, I know we talked through a lot. But yeah, just echoing what you said, I think like kind of how I'm thinking about these videos is really just a way to kind of share our learnings along the way through our roles in the team, but also like want to be able to adapt and pivot quickly as it relates to things that you guys want to hear about or talk more about. So feedback always welcome. Again, this is our first video, so let us know how you liked it. Let us know what you want to hear more of. But I think like we can't say this enough, but we wanted this video to really shine a light on the Aptos ecosystem as a whole. So there are certain use cases you want us to dive into, projects, individuals, you name it, just let us know.
Definitely. It's happening.
It's happening. It's happening on Aptos. Cool. Thank you, Alix, as always. So honored to work with you. Oh, Aptos
Always.
represent.
Ah, there you go. Look at us. Perfect. Well, thank you, Haley, and see you guys on the next one.